Some celebrities have had horrific live performances. First off, we have Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey had one of the best known bad performances when she went live in Times Square during Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. Her team said Carey couldn't hear anything coming from her earpiece, and the singer was reportedly lip-syncing to some of her biggest hits, shown when an audio track malfunctioned. I've never quite seen a star of her caliber have such an epic failure on stage. Wow, one user on Reddit commented, another saying, the real crime is the director who let the whole train wreck stay on air. How the F do you not stop that after 30 seconds? Get her off stage and just play the songs, or just stop the music and go tell the audience to go sing the national anthem or whatever. There are 1,000 ways to handle this better. A third user says, quote, and here I was thinking that I got drunk and made that performance up. Next up, we have Amy Winehouse. This is a bit of a sad situation as this performance was her last one before she passed away. The death of Amy Winehouse on July 23, 2011 shocked the entire world. The 27-year-old singer had struggled very publicly with substance issues and illness for a number of years, but the news of her passing still took the nation by surprise. Winehouse had been undergoing treatment for drugs and alcohol, but attempts to turn her life around had not been successful. Her issues had started to affect her work, and many of her public appearances were either cancelled, truncated, or became the horrible spectacle of a young woman in distress. Her second and final album, Back to Black, was released in October 2006, and between then and her death 5 years later, no further new material was issued. Her personal life had started to interfere with her music. A 12-date European tour was set for June 2011 and heralded the big comeback for Amy Winehouse. Having checked out of the Priory Clinic at the start of the month after having treatment for her drinking, the first show was in Belgrade, Serbia on June 18th as part of the Tuborg Festival, but the event was a disaster. According to the New Zealand Herald, the show was a, quote, staggering flop, and went on to claim that half the gig consisted of an attempt to introduce the members of her band, who all appeared to be confused by her inability to remember their names. The report added, quote, she was likewise unclear about her location, first greeting the audience in Athens and then in New York. Amy was just standing there, swaying back and forth, mumbling occasionally. She was on stage for about 30 minutes, then she left and was lying down on a flight case backstage, surrounded by some people, one person says. I was horrified. Serbian defense minister even called the show, quote, a huge shame and a disappointment. Subsequent dates in Turkey and Greece were cancelled before the rest of the tour was axed. Next up, we have Usher at this year's Super Bowl. While some fans loved the performance, the majority thought it fell flat. As the players took a well-deserved break in the Allegiant Stadium locker rooms, Usher took to the field to belt out a long list of his best-known hits. While the thousands in attendance were on their feet, it is safe to say the performance fell flat, with several watching at home. Complaints flooded in from the very beginning of the performance, with many moaning that the sound quality was, quote, awful, and that Alicia Keys was singing off pitch, and that there was no wow moments from any of the performers. Taking issue with the sound quality, one ex-user fumed, saying, Usher is horrible in live settings. Could barely hear him on top of that. Worst halftime show in a long time. Worst halftime show ever. Didn't even hear Usher sing properly. A second similarly complained, while a third user says, this is historically bad. Congrats, Usher. Every year the halftime show is worse and worse. Hashtag Super Bowl. This did not break the internet. A fourth user hit out, while a fifth user bluntly put it, the worst Super Bowl halftime show performance ever. Even those who enjoyed Usher's performance could not help but criticize the audio problems that plagued it, including one person who weighed in saying it was a great show, but audio was awful. It got a little bit better towards the end, but you could still barely hear Usher at all. A second viewer concurred, seen better and seen worse halftime shows. There to me was no wow moment, disappointing on the sound quality from most of it, but it got better when Usher went closer to a mic. Next up, we have Ashlee Simpson on Saturday Night Live. On October 23rd, 2004, Ashlee Simpson was caught lip-syncing on SNL. Simpson was supposed to sing Autobiography because she had already performed her song Pieces of Me earlier on in the show, but the vocal track that played instead was for Pieces of Me, and no sound came out of Simpson's mouth. She tried to dance, or jig, to make up for the mistake, but the damage was already done. "I feel so bad," Simpson said, proceeding to throw her band under the bus. "My band started playing the wrong song. I didn't know what to do, so I thought I'd do a little hoedown. I'm sorry." Next up, we have JB. Justin Bieber had a rough time when he threw up not once but twice on stage in Arizona during his Justin Bieber Believe tour in 2012. Bieber, who was 18 at the time, seemed fine when he first bounded on stage, but suddenly turned his back on the crowd and vomits twice, then runs off of the stage. The performer later blamed drinking too much milk before the show. Roseanne Barr's performance of the Star-Spangled Banner at a ball game was so bad it was deemed insulting. After a group of investors, including TV producer Tom Werner, purchased the San Diego Padres baseball team, executives thought it would be good for publicity to cross-promote the game in the new season of Roseanne, her show. Instead, the incident was so bad it was deemed insulting. Roseanne Barr headed onto the Diamond on July 25, 1990 to perform a screeching rendition of the national anthem. While many people were skeptical about her ability to sing, players and attendees claimed they assumed she had an unknown talent that was about to be displayed. Instead, she held her fingers to her ears as she screamed the words to the Star-Spangled Banner before grabbing her crotch, spitting, and exiting the field. As Padres fans booed and players stood in disbelief. Even then, President George W. Bush commented that the display had been, quote, disgraceful. Next up, we have a horrifying, not a singing performance, but a Las Vegas illusionist show with superstars Siegfried and Roy. By 2003, the duo had worked with their exotic feline co-hosts for 44 years. However, their long-term relationship with 7-year-old Tiger took a turn for the worse in front of a sold-out Las Vegas crowd. As one of the performers, Roy, was delivering the same monologue with the Tiger that they had repeated time and time again, the Tiger shocked and terrified the audience by taking a sudden bite at the illusionist's neck. The attack severed an artery that supplied blood to the brain and shattered one of Roy's vertebrae. While the feline dragged the helpless magician across the stage, so much blood was on the floor that the audience believed they were witnessing Roy's demise. The patrons left their drinks at their tables as crowds gathered outside to pray for the performer, who began flatlining at a local hospital. Although he did survive the ordeal, he was partially paralyzed. He and Siegfried continued to live with the Tiger as a pet until the animal's passing in 2014. Roy insisted he had suffered a stroke on stage and that the Tiger was just trying to save him. Next up, we have the band Creed. Creed fans tried to sue after frontman Scott Stapp was too intoxicated to sing a whole song. Fans were so unhappy with the 2002 Creed concert in Chicago that they tried to sue the band and requested that the judge consider filing a class action lawsuit. During the event, lead singer Scott Stapp was apparently so intoxicated or medicated that he was unable to finish any of his songs. According to the disgruntled concert goers, he also, quote, left the stage on several occasions during songs for long periods of time, rolled around on the floor of the stage in apparent pain, and appeared to pass out while on stage during the performance. Next, we have Metallica and Guns N' Roses. Montreal heavy metal fans were very angry after the headliners at the concert they attended cut the show short in 1992. Twice. First, Metallica lead singer James Hetfield had to exit the stage early after a prop exploded, leaving him with second-degree burns on his hands, face, and even his arms. As Guns N' Roses followed, lead singer Axl Rose began having trouble with his voice and called the show off after less than an hour of the entertainment. Fans were livid, despite the band members' obvious ailments. A riot broke out among the crowd of 53,000, and patrons burned burned concert t-shirts, which caused small fires throughout the Olympic Stadium. Some angry concertgoers even broke the windows of the venue with an uprooted street light. Lastly, we have Dua Lipa. A packed crowd of Dua Lipa fans were given a shock when a number of unauthorized fireworks were set off near the end of her tour performance at Scotiabank Arena here in Toronto. Videos taken during the singer's final song show a number of fireworks exploding across the floor section near the sound booth. Fans can be seen running away as the projectiles went off. Toronto police say 3 people were injured. They were seen by venue medics and none required any further medical attention. Well guys, that's it for today's video. Subscribe for more celebrity.